So I've been thinking of making a separate series of videos for the Emo-Thriller project that I'm working on, being part of one of my 4 creative goals that I want to reach before I reach 40. And I've actually recorded this a couple of times in the regular weekly progress logs, but it didn't quite fit. But here I am, and today I'm gonna discuss the idea for the Emo-Thriller and also talk about the short synopsis for it. So the Emo project is one of the big assignments in this screenwriting program that I'm attending. And it started with that we should pick 4 photos that everyone in class had taken 1 photo each. And then from those 4 photos, try to assemble like one idea, or several ideas actually. And the photos I did choose was a photo of a skating park under like a highway in the evening, and I got like an empty feeling from it, but it looks nice. And then I picked a collapsed scarecrow that was kind of hanging on its stick in the dawn or dusk, and it was a pretty sad image, but also very eerie. Then the third one was a photo from what is probably like a travel center of some kind, with the text on the ground saying "Area Kiss and Go," and you see a suitcase, and it felt like people were traveling here, and perhaps someone was saying goodbye. And the fourth one I picked was a window full of toys and child things. That was also, I also got a sad feeling to it. It was all cramped towards the window, and it looked like it was in a big city. And from those 4 photos, a couple of ideas emerged. So the first one was about a Syrian refugee woman who lived in a refugee accommodation here in Sweden, where there was also like a conservative matriarch, and she felt oppressed, and then a girl started there, a volunteer, and she took her on a journey and happened to end up at a skate ramp. And this Syrian woman was really good at skating and found a lot of new friends. The second one was about a girl who goes home to her grandmother and finds that she's missing. But there's a lot of notes, and then she goes to find her, and she has been slaughtered, being a vampire hunter, and this girl goes after the vampire that the grandmother was hunting. And the third one was about a boy and a girl who lives in the city and on the countryside, who meet and have a distance relationship. But they do not quite fit into each other's worlds, so they decide to leave together and to find and build a new life of their own. Then we were supposed to do variations for those ideas, and as I picked the last one of those ideas, I'm going through the variations for those. And the first one that I tried was to change the sex of the characters. So I made it into a girl and a girl. And the second one was to make it change the age of the characters. I also changed the sexes. So there was 2 women in their middle age who lived in the city and on the countryside. And the woman in the city had like a cheating husband, and the one on the countryside had a lazy husband. And they meet, and but they do not quite fit into each other's worlds, and they also like point out the fault of each other's relations, and they stop being friends. But then they realize that okay, there's something to what the other one said, and they leave their families to do something else that is more fulfilling for them. Then I tried to change genre, and the first one was to go with sci-fi, which I'm always comfortable with. And I made it into the girl living at like a blue-collar colony at Mars, and the boy living in a mega city on Earth, being rich. And they meet on like the interplanetary internet and fall in love. And then they visit each other's worlds, but they do not fit in, so they choose to go with a colony ship to a new world. And it was also a little bit more political with like the red planet and the blue planet, and then they go to the green planet. Then I also tried another genre, which was thriller. And this time it was about, the story about the girl and the boy, I pushed that into like the background to the story. So those had like a big relationship for a long time, but it ended. And now the guy started to look for this girl who had kind of disappeared, and trying to find out what happened to her. So I decided to go with the last idea, because it felt like there was a lot to do, a lot of fun writing, and could also work with flashbacks and explore many different kinds of tools. And one of the first documents, depending on how you want to do it, that you write when you try to work with a story is a synopsis, which is kind of a summary of the story. It can also be a summary of like the tone and the theme, what the story is really about. And usually you use the synopsis to sell your idea when you try to pitch it. But that's not what I'm doing here. So this is more of like a summary. So the Emo-Thriller idea is about Gustav, 17, and Rebecca, 15. And they have a really nice and warm distance relationship. We follow them through 4 years of love, how they travel to each other's cities, talking about morbid things, discussing how beautiful their kids would be, and listening to emo-core music. Until one day, when Rebecca tells Gustav she's pregnant. Next time we see Gustav, he has completely shut her off. And he's not answering her messages or her calls or anything like that. He has found a new girlfriend and also completely changed his style. So there's no longer the black bangs or the piercings or anything like that. But at the party, Rebecca suddenly calls him, and he picks up the call. And she convinces him to meet in their special place. He drives to the location, but there's no one there. He wants to go home, but he's kind of angry, and he wants closure so that he can continue with his life. So he decides to go to her hometown. We get to follow Gustav on a journey to find out what happened to Rebecca, talking to her reluctant friends, her carefree mother, and her non-understanding and pretty threatful new boyfriend. No one really seems to care what has happened to her as much as he does, not even the police. And in a final attempt, he managed to track her down, finally understanding what he has actually done to her, and now facing her morbid payback. So why did I choose this story? Well, I think it's a new genre for me, writing thriller. There's lots of opportunities to go in different directions with the story. I imagine it to be pretty fun to write it. And why not the others? Well, I guess the short answer is that they kind of didn't feel like my stories to write. Even though I was kind of choosing between this one and the one with the middle-aged women, because I think that one would also been really fun to write, and to write those all those characters. So there you have it. That is where the idea comes from and what the idea is about. If you want to continue to see where I progress with this idea, subscribe. Every weekend I put out a weekly progress log where you can see the progress for this project and all the other creative stuff I'm working on. If you have any ideas for the idea that you think this would be interesting to explore, why not write them in the comment section? I hope you found this interesting. Thank you for watching, and see you soon.